The one thing that's really unique about magic is it doesn't need to be done on a stage. It can be done close up, and it doesn't even need to be done professionally. It can be done off the cuff, anywhere, anytime, for anyone. And most arts, you can't say that about. All I need is a deck of cards in my pocket. And that is one of the most wonderful things about magic.
Welcome to the Wicked Truth Podcast, Third Things First, where we imagine life after conflict. I'm Suzanne Ross, your host for conversation with peace builders who have learned through long experience how to free communities caught in conflict for something better. A third thing is a term from conflict resolution. It refers to a work of art, like a movie or a play, that rival sides can watch and react to from their own perspective. By inviting reactions without judgment, the third thing creates a safe space to respect differences and to recognize a shared longing for a more peaceful future. When the third thing comes first, it becomes possible to resolve conflict and trauma from the recent past or that has lingered for generations. We hope that Third Things First will be your go-to place to renew hope in a future where everyone can flourish in peace. It's a pleasure to welcome magician James Warren and Roman Catholic mystic Sally Graciela Ramirez to Third Things First. I've asked them to speak with us because one of the things that impedes conflict transformation is certainty. Because when we are certain that we are in the right and that we know who or what the problem is, we resist novel or creative solutions. Today, I invite you to take a small step with me away from our certainty, to soften our resistance to the new and imaginative. Hearing from Jim and Sally is not only an exercise in letting go of certainty, it's an experience of finding paths to a better future where we least expect them. Which is why I'm delighted that they will be my special guests at the launch party for the revised edition of the Wicked Truth ebook. Jim will perform close-up magic, and Sally will offer tarot readings at our live event on July 7th here in Chicago. But we will have some virtual events too, so you can learn more about the new edition and how it can serve your community's search for peace with justice. Now, I'm excited to begin our conversation, but first, let me introduce our guests. James Warren holds an MDiv degree and works as a professional speaker for corporate and private events. He is the author of the comprehensive guide to the thought of Rene Girard, Compassion or Apocalypse. Jim presents Magic with a Message programs to schools across the U.S. to address bullying and other issues facing young people. And he has performed for 13 consecutive years at the private club for magicians in Hollywood, the famed Magic Castle. In Jim's own words, I've spent 20,000 hours studying, selecting, practicing, and rehearsing only those routines that I know will blow your mind, stimulate your imagination, and sometimes even touch your heart. Sally Graciela Ramirez is a Roman Catholic mystic whose religious background spans studies in Zen Buddhism, Native American traditions, and Taoism. She has been doing intuitive readings and reading tarot for over 40 years. She has studied hatha yoga and meditation techniques and currently studies, practices, and teaches Qigong. Sally is also an actress and singer whose versatility has brought her opportunities to perform off-Broadway in New York, at the Goodman Theater in Chicago, and elsewhere. So Sally and Jim, it is a pleasure to welcome you both to Third Things First.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne.
By the way, Suzanne, You can also, Sally is an incredible vocalist, a Latin jazz vocalist, and you can stream her music on Spotify and Amazon if you look for Sally Ramirez.
Oh, excellent. We'll definitely include a link there
Oh, nice.
People
with our
find it
stuff.
very soothing and
Great.
melodic. So if you like a feeling of peaceful, you're stressing peaceful, melodic kind of calming music, it's fun and it's also really beautiful and soothing music to listen to.
Yeah. Well, I'm not surprised that that's
Oh,
what you offer,
oh,
Sally.
thank
That's great. That's wonderful. So let's dive into some questions, Jim and Sally, that I think will interest our listeners. So probably some people have already had positive experiences with magic and with tarot, but there might be a few listeners who are skeptical, perhaps. So I'm that there's maybe anything of value um, in magic and tarot, and even a value for finding peace with justice. I mean, what do these things have to do with it, right? So I'm just very curious to maybe start with your experiences and what brought you to these practices. And so maybe Sally, we can start with you. What kind of brought you to tarot? And I actually have never met someone who self-identifies as a mystic. Um, so I'm just really curious about that.
well, I also would like to demystify that because
Right.
I am very human and very, I have a temper and very real person.
Latin temper, yeah.
Yes, and yeah, and he's got one too. But it's I think I the mystic part is because I do spend a lot of time in prayer, and
Mm,
probably more than the average bear. Probably, I do have this heavy influence. I feel a lot of energy going through me. I pray a lot for the people around me and my clients and my friends and my family. So that's very much a part of my life.
mm,
I actually, my personal journey is that how I first was introduced to tarot was I was going through a difficult time. Oftentimes, people who are very sensitive and empathic have to overcome great obstacles, and I had to overcome some great personal obstacles, and it needed to develop a lot of faith in order to do that. And the
mm,
the practice that was most accessible to me was Zen Buddhism. So I felt I had been a baptized Catholic, but my parents were divorced, and I had moved away from the Catholic Church for many years. But I was
mm,
in my late 20s. And so I thought to myself, okay, I need something that's kind of soothing and grounding and specific and practical. And Buddhism really spoke to me.
mm,
And eventually Buddhism as it is will lead you back to your home ground. So it eventually
mm,
brought me back to the Catholic Church. And and that's not to say that I haven't felt comfortable in a number of different churches. I feel the presence of the Holy Spirit. I feel God there. I can feel comfortable in that church. I can
Well, we
feel
presently attend a Presbyterian church
right.
here in Erie.
I can feel comfortable in a Jewish temple, and or a mosque, and I have felt a presence of God in those places as well. Um, So the tarot part was that I realized I had an intuitive gift, meaning that I would see or I had dreamed in color, and I had visions of things and
mm,
powerful messages that were coming to me. And so I joined a psychic development class, and these two teachers were very God based people. One of them was Sufi, and she the subject of magic actually came up in that class. And the way that she handled that was, you know there are techniques that you can do for protection, and there are things that to help you manifest what your heart desires. Oftentimes when people introduce faith into the mix, they let go of the magic part and just allow the
mm,
blessing to come in. And what I have found for myself is that it was easy for me to step away from any kind of magic. I wasn't intrigued by that so much as I just wanted to feel better. And so that faith walk took me to New York, and I did a lot of personal work there, and really fell in love with Christ at that time. And my prayer life, and my started my life over. And I became, very, very connected to my journey in that way. Now, the use of tarot, um, the teachers that I had said the way to read tarot is this, and there was like a book. There was like this common book that was used. I don't remember the exact title of the book, but it was something like Tarot for Beginners. And tarot is very much like a deck of cards, like Jim's deck of cards. And it's modeled after a standard deck. So if you have um, spades and hearts and diamonds and clubs in a standard deck,
Mhm.
what you have are spades would be swords, and hearts would be cups in the tarot deck, and wands would be clubs, and then diamonds would become pentacles. And
Mm.
what the tarot does is, I'm an artist, so I'm drawn to pictures. I'm drawn to storytelling. And people are often intrigued by the storytelling that a reading can have. Now, when you're using it for it, it all depends on the intention behind it. I mean,
Mm.
we hear a lot of the discrepancies and the conflict that we have about, and these many practices of reading something, tools that are used, the I Ching or palm reading or anything like that. Is is this used for aggrandization? Is this used to predict the
Mm.
future, to try to change God's path for me because I'm using it out of my will in this material world? Or am I using it to help get closer to what I need to do for myself, to create
Mm.
more peace around me through my personal understanding, through loving my neighbor, through loving my family, through healing my relationships with my family? And I can
Mm.
tell you, Suzanne, that 90% of my readings involve people healing their relationships with their families. It starts
Mm.
there. They can have a healthy uh, romantic relationship because they're healed
Mhm.
the issues with their mom or their dad. And then they're paving a way for themselves to have a connection with a love relationship, and their own personal family becomes better. So, it's not about predicting the future. It's about co-creating or being a receptor to that creation by getting closer to the creator and what the creator's path is for you, so that you can really love one another and be at peace with one another.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Sally. That's beautiful. I love that feeling of being open to the presence of the spirit moving. I mean, it sounds like there's such a continuity between your prayer life and the the tarot readings. Um, there's no opposition anywhere there. It's just beautifully continuous. And I want to come back to talk with you about that a little more, but I want to hear a little bit from you, Jim, about what brought you to magic and why you stick with it.
Well, I mean, based on everything that's been said so far, I better clarify for listeners that I don't do magic. I do sleight of hand. So
Mm.
there's a big distinction to be made between, magic as we might think of it in the Harry Potter, terms, as opposed to magic for entertainment. So I do magic for entertainment, which is based on sleight of hand and based on various principles of misdirection and illusion. And
Mhm.
the audience knows this. You know what I mean? So when they're watching me perform, they know I'm a trickster, is really what I am, you know.
Yeah, I know, Jim. I know we know it, but I've seen you, and I swear to God, it's magic. There, I don't know how
Thank
you
you.
do it.
Yeah, well, that's many years of being hermetically sealed in my room playing with a deck of cards. uh, so, yeah. I do try to, focus on the stuff that I know is really going to be mind blowing. I
Yeah.
don't want to
So
just be
talk about
entertaining. I
that.
do want to blow people's minds.
Yeah. Talk about the impact that you want people to experience, what you want people to experience when they are watching you
I
do
want
this
them to
magical stuff.
experience a sense of release.
Mm.
When a comedian builds up a gag and then hits you with the punchline, and there's a release of energy that happens. The same is true at the end of a magic trick. If it's a powerful trick and it's worked, the audience goes, "Whoa!" And actually, laughter is very often the response.
Mm.
There's sometimes it's just sheer silent jaw drop. Other times it's like, "Oh, how did you?" And there's laughter because there's energy. You've been building this energy up throughout the course of the trick. There's an expectation, something's going to happen. There's suspense, and then there's that moment of release. And so
Mhm.
that's what I want. And it's a release in a deeper sense, I think, in that I want to help people just have a moment where they get outside the box of their own life. So often we feel trapped and we are oppressed by the various necessities in our life. Oh my God, I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to show up to work. I have to come back to my husband. I have to come back to my kid. Is that, all these, whatever it is. And
Yeah.
magic breathes a breath of possibility into that shift. I mean, Kierkegaard wrote a lot about that in Sickness Unto Death, this dialectic between possibility and necessity. And he says that human beings are basically a synthesis of both. If we don't have any necessity in our life, then who are we? I mean, I got to be someone, right? There are certain things I was born of these parents, right? And I do speak this language, and it is, I was raised the way I was raised, and these things are necessities to some extent or other. They can be modified, but no human being, to be a real human being, is without some level of necessity. But if necessity predominates, you're going to be depressed. You're going to be oppressed. And so there also has to be possibility in a human life. Now, if there's too much possibility, then you become no one again on the other end of the
Mm.
extreme because you're just following fantasy, which is unfortunately what's happening today, especially with the younger generation, thanks to these horrible devices right here. And
Yeah.
they live in possibility. And as a result, have no necessity in their lives, no anchorage in their life, no grounding to know who they are. So you want to bring those two things together. So people come. I'm the house magician at Keller's Magic and Comedy Club in Erie, Pennsylvania. People come to the club. I'm at the bar, and they're bringing their necessities with them. I want to give them some possibility too, because
Mhm.
for most people, I think it's a situation where they have more possibility than they do. They have more necessity in their life than they do possibility. And Kierkegaard says possibility is like breath. You have a word is composed of consonants and vowels. The consonants provide the structure. That's necessity. But
Mm.
vowels is the air that comes through, and that's possibility. So we as human beings have to have both. People have too much necessity these days. I want to bring them that possibility. Maybe it'll free
Yeah.
them up just for a moment. Maybe they'll carry it home with them. Maybe their world is just a little more open, like, well, I had an experience outside the box. I wonder if something outside the box could happen to me. It's almost like a pre-evangelism type of tool, like getting them ready, fertilizing the field for a bigger experience that they might have down the road, opening them up, a bigger experience like a major outside the box spiritual experience or something like they might get from my wife. Yeah, if she does a tarot reading for them. But I don't want to make too much out of what I do with the sleight of hand. You know, I think it is enough to just, as you said earlier, Suzanne, just give people a good time because they really do need it. If I accomplish no more than that with the sleight of hand, then, you know, that's contributing.
I think what I like about what you do, Jim, that I think is very unique is you can see that Jim is he's got this MDiv and this vast vocabulary and passion for literature. And he's brought Alice in Wonderland and created and done recitations of the Jabberwocky and used magic in telling storytelling. So the what he does, I find this to be very unique and very special, and it makes it a very special and unique experience for the person who's watching it.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think so too. And one of the things that we talk about here at Third Things First is the way a third thing can open up space within a community that is suffering from
Mm.
really intractable conflicts or
Mhm.
something. And
Mm.
in the things I've read about, using movies and art and plays, maybe music, I've never seen anyone mention magic, a sleight of hand, as something you could bring into a conflict community
You know,
that might open up some space.
Suzanne, I have a thing here. It will take me probably 2 minutes to read it, if I may.
Absolutely.
It is essentially a diary. You might call it a diary entry. Sometimes when I have a kind of a great experience, I'll come home and I'll write it up. And I did this. This was back in 2016. So this is 10 years ago. Wow. Oh my God. Getting older. Anyways, it's 10 years ago. And I had a gig on a Friday night. And here's why I thought about this with what you just said. The one thing that's really unique about magic is it doesn't need to be done on a stage. It can be done close up, and it doesn't even need to be done professionally. It can be done off the cuff, anywhere, anytime, for anyone. And most arts, you can't say that about. All I need is a deck of cards in my pocket. And that is one of the most wonderful things about magic. So with that in mind, let me take 2 minutes. It's just one page. I'll read to you what happened to me this night. It said, it was about 9 o'clock at night after my gig. I stopped for some Chinese takeout before going to my hotel room. My GPS system had taken me to this little dive, which turned out to be in a pretty seedy part of the city. I felt a little nervous as I pulled into the empty parking lot at nighttime, but I was hungry. There was only one person inside, standing at the counter waiting for his takeout food. He was a teenager, African American, very withdrawn under his hoodie. As I ordered my food, he turned away. He seemed shut down, depressed, and secretive. I, of course, am a late middle-aged white male and was wearing a suit and tie because I'd just performed for 25 white business people at a doctor's 50th birthday party. This young man and I existed in utterly separate universes. He might as well have been on Mars and I on Venus. According to stereotype, I should have been afraid of him and he suspicious of me. According to script, I should have ordered, then moved away and stationed myself in a space far distant from his. But I decided to go off script. What the heck, I thought. I went out to my car and grabbed a deck of cards. Back inside, I walked right up to him, smacked the deck down on the counter and said, "Mix the cards." He stared at me for a moment, uncomprehending. "What? Mix the cards? You want me to mix them?" "Yeah." Reluctant to touch the cards, he just cut the deck. "More," I said. So he cut the deck a few more times. "All right," I said, "name an ace, any ace." So he says, "Ace of hearts." I said, "Okay, I'll spell it." I dealt cards from the top of the deck, spelling ace of hearts, ACEOFHEARTS, dealing one card for each letter. And I turned over the final card, and it was the ace of hearts. A look of utter astonishment crossed his face, and then the faint hint of a smile. "Name another ace," I said. He said, ace of spades. I repeated the trick and spelled the ace of spades. Then I located the other two aces, and by the end, he was literally beaming. The manager chased us away from the counter because two older African-American men had just come in and wanted to order. So we moved over to a table and I did another trick for him. By now he was laughing, and I could tell that he'd never seen anything like this before. The bond between us was just as pure and bright as my bond with the white business guests earlier that evening. Finally, his takeout was ready and he left. But now I was on a roll. The two older Black men seemed totally bored, certainly not inviting contact with me. But I walked up to one of them and said, peek at a card. Then I told him the card he was thinking of. Whoa, they both yelled, do that again. So I did, and they both turned into children. Light filled their eyes. Their mouths lifted into smiles, and they held out their fists for fist bumps as I took my food and left. This is why I do magic. This is why I love magic. Other than the gospel itself, I know a few things so capable of immediately bridging cultural divides and transforming relationships. To be able to reach across a cultural Grand Canyon and make a heartfelt connection with a seemingly threatening stranger, not from the stage, but at a restaurant counter in a seedy part of town. This is pure gift, and I'm feeling blessed to have been led into this wonderful art form. Have cards will travel.
Jim, that's a perfect story. That's a perfect story. And like you say, it's not from a stage. It's
Yeah.
person to person.
Yeah.
It's you taking, in a way, it's you taking a risk too. I mean, you're putting your gift out there.
Yeah.
Could be rejected, and I'm wondering how, if you've encountered that kind of skepticism, either one of you, if you've had people say, what are you doing? This is, you say you're a Christian and you're dabbling in these occult things, and why would you do that? I mean, I have a sister who, God bless her, it loves peace, but she thinks that I'm condemned because I celebrate Halloween. It's things like that. Like, how do you respond to skepticism like that?
Because I just read this, let me just say briefly, and then, because I think you'll have more to say.
Yeah.
Yours is more serious.
Yeah.
I don't have too much of that problem because honestly, evangelical churches, most of them will have no problem hiring a magician. They're quite able to distinguish between sleight of hand entertainment and pacts with the devil, or occult stuff. Most are. I think it's your rare, probably very fundamentalist group that might have a problem with that. I do have a friend, magician, who did run into that with a woman one time. And honestly, she was so concerned. He made a card rise from the deck. And she was so convinced that this had to be demonic. I mean, she's going to pray for him and all this stuff. He actually broke the magician's code. He couldn't convince her. He got her address and he sent her the instructions to the trick, which he had bought from a magic shop, so she could see, that this was not demonic. But that's quite rare. And even all the way back to the Middle Ages, and in fact, even the Inquisition, even the Spanish Inquisition, they were clear, or they got clear pretty soon about the difference between tricksters doing magic tricks like the cups and balls, which were popular in the Middle Ages, and occult magic stuff, which was considered heretical and a pact with the devil. But even the Inquisition was clear about that. So that is not something that in my trade I encounter much. Now with Sally, it's a different story.
With me, it's a different story. We recently did a gig over the summer, and
A fair.
Yeah.
Not a Renaissance fair.
No, it wasn't a Renaissance fair. It was just a county fair kind of thing. And it spanned about 6 days. And there were 3 evangelical booths that were on, we were in silos is basically because they were, there were animals. It was all kind of on a farm situation.
I'm not sure they were evangelical. They may have been
More
fundamentalists.
fundamentalist. Yeah. You know the distinction a
Yeah.
little better than I do.
Okay.
But anyway, there were 3 booths that were on the other side of the silo. And then there was me on this side of the silo. And I used to, ironically, I used to actually bring a Bible with me and put it on the table and back because I had people that would be doing readings for that needed a little more attention, and I would get more, and my readings were longer then. They were more like 10 or 15 minutes. And so it was more, there was a more of a real spiritual component to it. Um,
Mhm.
but I had my using my tarot and everything, and we had to hawk for ourselves, and we didn't have a lot of crowd coming in. But I often, and during our stay, the there weren't a lot of people who were looking at me like very askance and very skeptically and very judgmentally. And one man came up to me and said, "Tarot, huh? No, thank you," and said it right to my face, right in my face. So it can be a harsh situation,
Mhm.
especially since I mean, I still felt, I mean, the people that I read for, I read for a lot of Christians, and I read for people who are God based and maybe that are skeptical about faith. But my purpose is to help them to find it. And my purpose is to help them to ground in themselves, lift their sorrow and their heaviness, and trust that God loves them and wants them to be happy. It's a very
Mm.
simple message said 1,000 different ways, if you will. Okay. So the cards that I have, if you don't mind, I might resist this. I just
Uh,
wanted to share
I was
a few cards,
yes,
a
I
few
was
cards.
gonna
Okay.
yeah,
Because
for sure.
I've got a couple of decks here that I use often. And tarot is really about a personal journey, what goes inside, helps you to go inside. If you were to pull this card, can you see it all right? Can, oh, Jim can hold
It's a
it.
little oh, there it is, yeah.
That's called the Hermit. Now, the Hermit is the part of you that needs to go inside to look at the light inside. Look, and I have that same card, I think, in this deck as well. That's the Hanson Robert deck. That's the first deck that I started with. Can you see it?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you see he's shedding the light inside. That's a spiritual light to go inside to calmly look about what do you need to be doing right now? What needs the most attention right now? Because we're
Mhm.
trying to calm ourselves from the chaos and the impulsive decisions that we make sometimes that are based from chaos or fear. So the
Mm.
hermit helps us to go inside. That part of us that helps us to go inside. This is the star. The star, that's also from the Hanson Robert deck, is about dreams. When someone pulls a star, it's like, oh, it's time to really imagine what it is you really want to make happen in your life. Okay. So in your meditations and in your prayers, really focus on your dreams. Focus on what you want to see past and transcend this other difficulty, X, Y, or Z.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
And
I love that.
and I also wanted to say, let me see.
While you're looking at it, can I say something?
Sure.
This thing about dreams here,
Mhm.
I think, Sally,
Yeah.
you would say
Mhm.
this is not about fortune telling. For Sally, anyway, this is not about fortune telling. It's not about trying to cater to your desire.
No.
Uh, it's not a technology for making your desire happen because everything is grounded in, you got to start with the inside, the inner
Mm.
light. And that involves the ethical as well. That involves the relationships and what's going wrong with your relationships and where are you at. And so, you know, when you talk about what is your dream, well, by dream, I think you mean something that can come out and manifest as you get right with yourself and with other people. And then you begin to be able to actually set goals and follow those goals to make something happen, as opposed to fantasy,
Yes.
which is just basically, oh, I would love this and I'm focused on this. And it's primarily me avoiding what I have to do. And yes, sometimes people go to get a tarot reading, hoping that that's what they can do. But that's where, if they get a reading with Sally, they're going to run into a roadblock right away, because she's going to leave your gift at the altar and first go be reconciled to your brethren.
I mean, I'm known for. There's somebody that a couple of people that came to me that went to another reader down the way. Well, Sally really laid it out like it is. They were kind of hoping that this person would tell them something different, but they said the same thing. Well, you kind of have to take care of this before that's going to happen.
Wow. Thank you for listening to the Wicked Truth podcast. Join us next time with Jim and Sally as we continue to talk magic, mysticism, and the power of uncertainty in bringing about a more peaceful world. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you can get these hopeful conversations in your inbox twice a month.